Hello, I'm going to show you how to work a knitted in hem. This hem is worked flat. I started with a provisional cast on and then I worked 4 rows in stockinette stitch. For a wider hem, you would just work more rows before you start these steps. So I'm going to turn this upside down and pick up the stitches from my provisional cast on. We're going to be picking up stitches that run the opposite direction from the stitches on the needle. So we're picking up these stitches that lie between the stitches on your needle. If you look at your provisional cast on, you can see that the stitches we want to pick up are these bumps on the edge of your cast on here. We want to pick up the same number of stitches as we have on the needle. We have 10 stitches on the needle, but because of the geometry of the knitting, there are only 9 bumps on the cast on edge. So for the last stitch, the 10th stitch, we're going to pick up here. It's actually a stitch from the row above, but it's easy to pick up from the provisional cast on because, as you can see, the waste yarn is looped into that one as well. So I want to pick up these stitches. I'll start with this one. Make sure you pick up from the side where you joined, where you finished the cast on, as that's the side that will unzip. I'll just unzip this first stitch here. Then I'll pick up the next stitch and keep unzipping. I'm trying to be careful not to stag my waste yarn here because that makes it kind of hard to unzip if it's caught on your needle. So here's the 9th stitch, and then, like I said, the last loop will be our 10th stitch here. And now you can just remove the waste yarn entirely. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip this around. So my smaller needle, that's my green needle, is farthest from me, and my large needle is closest to me. The purl bumps will be facing up. I'm going to take my working yarn behind or underneath the smaller needle. And then using the larger needles, we're going to knit into a stitch from the larger needle, and then into a stitch on the smaller needle, and then we're going to knit them together. So we're going to pull the loop back through both stitches and slide the loop off the large needle and the loop off the small needle. We're going to repeat these steps. You can either move the loose end of your working yarn out of the way, or you can just work it between these stitches and kind of weave in that end as you go. As you can see, my hem is starting to form here. Just keep inserting your needle knitwise into the stitch on the large needle, knitwise into the stitch on the small needle, and knit them together. And just keep doing that until all of your stitches have been worked. And here's my knitted in hem. You should have the same number of stitches that you started with. So I started with 10 and I have 10 stitches on my needles. From there, you just continue knitting off these stitches. Just turn your work and just keep knitting.